This is every single character in Chapter 5 explained, starting with Lily Lovebraids. What happened to Lily Lovebraids? After sneaking past Huggy and inserting the 3 batteries required to open this huge purple door, we end up moving into an area called Sweet Street. We soon find this knockoff Huggy mobile, and using our pressure hand to destroy this structure from above, we reveal a power receiver, which allows us to venture off into this new location. Once we supposedly reach the end by destroying the purple gates, we're given our first interaction with Lily Lovebraids, and upon this first interaction, she seems weirdly excited to see us. She immediately starts talking to and for the decapitated candy cat in her hand, with the toy apparently saying that they don't think we're here for the party. But Lily brushes that comment off, asking why else would we be down here, and so, untangling her hair, Lily takes this as the perfect opportunity to take us away and bring her over to where this supposed party is. That's where we end up getting relocated to this purple childlike mansion, to which we're immediately told that we stink, according to Candy Cat. Now, I'm just playing the part right now, y'all, don't worry. This apparently turns into a side convo between the two, with Lily denouncing that comment and asking for a nicer way it can be said, which not only hints at all the funk we had to get through to get here, but also the fact that those showers do nothing for us smelling like blood butt. But after the supposed suggestion of a bubble bath, Lily quickly shifts back to the party and asks for us to bring her the crumpets from the oven in the basement.
Can you be a good toy and bring me the crumpets from the oven in the basement?
And as we move down to the basement, we end up coming across both Kissy and Poppy trapped in a cell, the same exact cell that we got in the gameplay trailer. We even got the reminiscent Kissy Missy pull from Chapter 4 upon coming across them, and Poppy, surprised to see us, begins to apologize for everything that she's done, from the abandonment to the manipulation, and asks us if there's any way we could break them out. After this interaction, returning the crumpets to Lily, she says this:
You were talking to anyone.
And so this is when we have to gather the guests for the party, which are just 3 toys that aren't alive at all.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Next
yeah.
we'll have to find the friends.
All right. Whoa.
Love these. Let's set the mood with a little music in case our special guest arrives early.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm rocking with it. Even so, after returning each toy, we get these lines of dialogue from Lily. Go ahead, sit down. There you go. Whoa.
Dolly Glove,
Hello.
were you taking a bubble bath?
I think so. I think she was.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Now,
Yeah, she crazy.
are we still missing?
Get out the car. Here's the second member. Help me out with the third.
Oh, look who it is.
Yeah.
Were you messing around in the garage?
Yeah, she was knocked out.
Remember, good toys wash their hands.
She's never done that.
Now, who are we still missing?
I don't know. Where do we go? I'm gonna go in here with you, because it seems like you having some fun in here. Yep, let me go in here.
Poster is enough
What?
to hide it? We have guests here, Candy.
Now we got to talk about them sandwiches, Lily, because look, you better not be giving me no gut sandwiches.
So
Yup,
nice
here go baby.
join us for tea. And I'm
So look at the little
sorry
shoulder.
for your loss.
What happened?
Oh,
Oh, look at the
this is
smile.
the best day of my life.
Let me sit down.
All of the friends.
Yeah.
I almost forgot.
Oh.
I need to get ready.
And once all 3 of the toys' guests are gathered at the table, Lily returns again and brings us over to the kitchen for the final preparations of the party. Upon entering the kitchen with Lily, she starts to talk about the kitchen being a mess, and while she tidies everything up, we're told to bring her recipe book upstairs and into the bookshelf near the attic. Put your hair back in that bun when you first saw me. I honestly liked it like that, because you got it all up in my face and I'm smelling tulips, and I'm really not trying to smell that right now.
Oh, look at the mess.
Oh, what?
We need to
I just
tidy
turned the
up.
fan on.
Return
The fight.
my recipe book to Nook upstairs while I get everything ready.
Okay.
Sounds good. You stay right there, I'm gonna do that.
However, once we end up moving over to this area, we end up finding a secret room hidden behind a wall, behind the same bookshelf that we put the recipe book in. We take a look inside and immediately see the poster that Lily was whispering about to Candy while searching for the toys. Moving through it, we press this button to open Lily's bed, and where we end up discovering a heavily taken care of skeleton in it, surrounded by poppy flowers and toys like Boxy Boo, Bobby Bear Hug, Kickin' Chicken, and Huggy Wuggy, which is also holding a Playtime Co. ID. We'll get into that later. Searching some more, we end up finding exactly what we needed, a yellow heart-shaped key that requires our pressure hand to obtain due to the key being locked behind a glass case. Upon breaking the case, however, we quickly realize that all the way in another room, Lily ends up hearing what we've done. We run over to this room to try and hide, which seems to be a walk-in closet bigger than my room, and shortly after, Lily comes in to investigate the noise and immediately starts to reassure the skeleton in the bed, saying that it's okay and to go back to sleep. In an eerie voice, she tells Candy Cat that someone's been in her room and that someone's going in the box.
Oh, she about to pull up. Where she at? Oh, it's just a regular cutscene. It's okay.
You're okay. Go back to sleep.
That is weird.
Nobody's gonna hurt you anymore.
She deviated from her real self.
Candy.
Oh no.
Someone who's going in the box.
With Lily now leaving the room, seemingly on the hunt for us, we're now required to go back down to the basement with Poppy and Kissy and use the yellow key in order to break them out. However, with Lily's braid blocking the lock, we can't just use the key, so instead we move into this side room and find a hidden opening near the top of the wall, which lets us bypass the locked door below. We crawl through the vents, freeze and break the poppy gel residue, and almost immediately after, Lily comes down too, telling Candy that someone must have left the door open, thinking it was probably one of the guests at the table. She walks over to the cell, saying that she could have sworn she heard some chitter chattering down here, slowly putting it together that Poppy, Kissy, and likely us are plotting an escape. Talking a bit more with Candy Cats, she says that they can't leave before the party, walking back up to the main floor.
Almighty push!
You left this door open, Candy.
Want me?
Hide.
I'm hiding.
Maybe it was Dolly Grub.
Yeah, it was her. Definitely. Why are you looking at him?
Is all the fuss down here?
Don't worry about it.
I could have sworn I heard you chitter-chattering.
Just talking amongst ourselves.
They're plotting an escape. Oh.
Nah.
Of course they aren't. They can't leave before the party.
She needs to leave
I don't know what she's
before
planning.
she dies.
We take this opportunity to pop out from the vents, burn the braid, and get Poppy and Kissy out from the cell. And for a brief moment, it's really seeming like we're gonna be able to make our escape. But once we try to move up the stairs and back to the main floor, all the lights suddenly cut out and we're now plunged into the darkness with Lily Lovebraids.
This is your fault.
It's at this point where we need to use Globy's black lights in order to navigate the area, moving into the living room and walking past the show that Lily's been supposedly watching when we set out to retrieve her guests. Following the hair and opening the door to the main area, we start hearing Lily laughing, but once we walk through that door, we're suddenly grabbed by Lily's hair, where Lily, in the darkness, asks in a third-person perspective if the dear guests are bored, referring to herself as Tilly Lily, and that's when she suggests a game that we should play. Giving us the rules, she informs us that upstairs is a nursery, and whenever Lily starts to sing a song, we're able to walk there. But once she stops singing, we have to stop moving completely.
What does that mean? Ooh! Oh, that caught me.
Are dear guests bored?
A little bit.
Bored of little Tilly Lily?
Yeah, you gonna
Why
have to.
don't we play a game?
Yeah, cure my boredom.
Upstairs, there's a sweet little nursery.
I knew she was gonna play a game.
I sing a pretty song. You can walk there. But when
Okay.
I'm quiet, you have to stop. Follow the path to the prize.
So what was I saying, y'all?
And so that's exactly what we do. But halfway into the game, Lily does this.
This is not hard at all. We running through. Red light. Yup.
This is so much fun.
This is mad fun.
Pick up the pace a bit.
Oh, you want to pick up the pace?
Keep it up, and you'll win. Prize.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on.
Red light.
She starts to hum and move twice as fast, and still following her hair, we end up breaking through this glass with our pressure hand and make our way all the way up into the attic, where we hear the voice of Poppy telling us to hurry and that they found a way out. Upon moving into the attic to reunite with them, Lily immediately figures out what we've left, saying that the party hasn't even started. And the moment we think that everything is safe and Lily just doesn't know where we are, that's when we're snatched by her hair again, turned around upside down, and met with Lily Lovebraids again, with her still being adamant about this party that we just can't miss.
Can you stop talking and just hum? Yeah, the party ended and started. Whoa!
And just where do you
And I'm
all
outside.
think you're
Yeah, I'm
going?
turning,
You
y'all.
wouldn't want to miss the tea party.
And that's when we end up cutting to this party, with us, the three guests, Poppy and Kissy, gathered around the table. We're not gonna go too deep into this interaction this video, apart from Lily talking out of turn, which resulted in her candy cat getting skewered, and Lily getting smacked in the mouth for not keeping her hands to herself. Through the midst of all this, we end up having to run up the stairs, and Lily bursts through the middle door at the top in an effort to reach us. After chasing us throughout the mansion, we at some point move our way outside, and during this whole chase, these are the things that Lily says to us all the way up until our final interaction.
What?
This is all
Oh!
your fault.
Oh!
It's the bad toy
Oh!
3,
Don't do it!
2,
Running off like a G. Already know me. You trying to chase me?
box for you.
Bro, where are we at?
If I can't go to a better place, you can't. It's the bad toy.
Man, if you don't stop talking about this, it's the bad toy box. Don't nobody care about no toy box.
All your fault. You're a bad toy.
Oh, am I? I'm pulling up.
It's at this point where Lily pulls herself up onto this cloud platform with the help of her braids, where she brings up all the things that she's done for us and how this is how we repay her. And at this moment, we use our pressurized grab pack hand to break off one of the supporting cables holding this cloud platform up, leading to Lily scrambling to try and get back up, but inevitably suffering what looks like a 50-foot drop. Shortly after that though, that same platform ends up fully detaching from its last cable and falls right on top of Lily Lovebraids, officially putting her down for good.
I saw a
I let you
wait.
into my house.
Hold up.
I let you come to my tea party.
Right. This is how I repay you. Yeah. Rest in pieces, Lily. It was nice knowing you.
But what was it that made Lily act this way? Who was she originally, and how does she fit with the overall story of Playtime Co? Well, I think this is the perfect moment to say that the theory that I've been hyping up with Lily Lovebraids actually being Stella Graber was oh so wrong. And it turns out that the true identity of Lily was not only someone who was getting teased in the Chapter 5 ARG, but is also someone that's in direct relation to the history and trauma of Huggy Wuggy. Video coming soon. And throughout our interactions with Lily, we were able to find pieces of info that help tie this part of the story together and explain what exactly we're dealing with when it comes to this nutcase. So let's start with the true identity of Lily Lovebraids, who turns out to be one of the most psychologically complex characters we've gotten in the series, Gracie Green, also known as Miss Gracie. Gracie Green was the lead counselor of the Wellness and Integration sector at Playtime Co. That title was a sham though, because her job consisted of making videos to brainwash the new experiments into forgetting their past lives and fully accepting their new fates as a toy. Whoa. What is she talking about? She got me. Not only that, but she trained Huggy Wuggy and likely other experiments to deposit innocent toys into the bad toy box, aka the shredder. And after possibly years of doing this to dozens of different toys, karma came around for Gracie, and the storm that she created had finally reached her. It starts with the infamous Hour of Joy, and 2 days beforehand there was actually a bit of experimentation going on that ended up directly mixing with this conflict. What I'm talking about is the project proposal notes that we find in the game, with the date being August 6th, 1995. It reads,
"In accordance with prior conversation and critical feedback, proposed operational procedures and materials for experiment 1468 have seen a radical shift. Rather than each strand of hair being comprised of a sequence of grafted finger bones and muscle in a loose hair facade, we've allocated horsehair for its tensile strength, durability, and flexibility, and artificial bone construction, and various biological materials, which we've listed below. Neural integration protocols have shown promising responsiveness in trials, indicating the subject's cognitive link will extend naturally to the hair construct. In effect, Lily's mind will be able to manipulate each and every strand as if it were her own limb. Its own limb. As such, our crafting will need to be intricate and operated by our most delicate hands. Materials and methods. Ahead of August 20th's operation, extracted capillaries will be required for the attenuation, y'all giving me some harder and harder words, of pain responses, and note cuts off.
This note pretty much concludes the possibility of Lily Lovebraids being a successful bigger body, with horsehair even being a main structural component of her design. And that's the part that just ties into the growing complexity of the experiments as the number began to rise. Because this isn't just cosmetic, this isn't just make the doll bigger, this is a full biological reconstruction. They weren't stitching synthetic fibers into a toy, they were engineering a living extension of the nervous system, artificial bone, biological materials, neural integration protocols, pain attenuation. They were preparing her to feel it. The detail about her mind being able to manipulate each strand as if it were its own limb confirms that this was meant to be fully functional and possibly weaponized, each braid essentially becoming a controllable appendage. And with that, we move 2 days later to the Hour of Joy itself. Gracie has locked herself in her studio amidst the chaos, and the smiling and nightmare critters are banging on the door, wanting Gracie to join them in spreading the joy. At the same time, she tries to inform Todd of the situation, who seems to be someone she's talking to via a radio, and she's instructed to just sit and wait for things to die down until a team arrives to help her out. Unfortunately, however, once she loses communication with Todd, it's at that moment where the toys who had been trying so hard to reach her finally burst down the door, with Gracie begging and pleading for her life, saying to Baba Chops that all she ever wanted was to make them happy. In response, Baba Chops says that they're actually not gonna kill her. In fact, they have special plans arranged for her, to which Gracie is dragged away, kicking and screaming. What the?
All of them, I think. I don't know how many. They took apart Robertson. They literally took him apart, Todd.
Dang.
Security forces will get you. Goddamn. Mass casualties in the game station.
Don't tell me
The
this
game
is
station.
Todd. These little monsters are trying to kick down my door.
Oh, they mad at her. They trying to get some revenge. Oh shoot.
You hear them?
What the? Gunshots?
Another breach on 4. 40
What in the world?
closing.
Todd?
How do I hear?
Oh, they're in the den.
Yo, they're shooting them down.
How are there many of them?
Todd?
Oh, Todd, rest in peace, Todd. Rest in peace, Todd. Oh,
Get back! Get back!
get back.
Mama, I was just
Baba Chops.
trying to make you all happy! I want to...
Please.
Don't hurt me!
We're not gonna hurt you, Miss Gracie. We have something very special planned for
Something special planned, huh? So they didn't kill her.
And with that, this results in Gracie being sent to be experimented on by the prototype, successfully becoming experiment 1468, also known as Lily Lovebraids. But how do we know this? Well, while we end up venturing through Lily's purple mansion, we come across a document from the prototype himself reporting the conditions of Lily, which doesn't have any date tied to it. And before even reading the notes, just with that little bit of info, when pairing it with the experiment 1468 note that we laid out earlier, specifically the part where it says ahead of August 20th's operation, could we make the theory that in between the dates of August 6th and August 20th, 1995, it was the prototype himself who continued these operations shortly after the Hour of Joy? With that report as a good foundation, we'll sit on that for a bit. But the note reads, Lily has been in continuous isolation for 410 days. She's been provided only the bare minimum of food, water, etc. She is childishly naive and wholly ignorant of her crimes. I've moved her. The space is needed. Know, however, that this changes nothing. She will not be allowed to join us. She will not be allowed a quick death. Prototype. Not only does this give us a bit of insight into how the prototype operates, but it also explains everything we've seen with Lily up until her inevitable death by our hands. Which, not to toot my own horn, but she did end up proposing the game to us and she got that Miss Delight treatment, which is exactly what I was predicting. Roll the clip. But what I'm mainly talking about is Lily's overall behavior and personality, because after reading what the prototype says about her, everything we just experienced inside of that mansion starts to make a lot more sense.
And she's telling stories to random.
410 days of isolation. That's over a year. Over a year of being locked away somewhere with only the bare minimum to survive. No stimulation, no social interaction, no one correcting her, no one grounding her reality. Not to mention the notes that Lily ends up writing revolving around the prototype keeping her in this situation. It reads, he still doesn't come. None of them will come. Why does everyone hate me? Big breath in into your belly and out. Again. Good. You're doing so good. Just cover up the hole with something. Anything will do. Maybe just a poster. Your favorite one. That's what you deserve for this. Don't let him see the mess you made. Never, ever. Lily Billy. So along with being emotionally unstable and volatile, Lily clearly can't seem to comprehend why she's been left alone. And in her anger and confusion, she ends up putting a hole in the house, to which she promptly covers up in fear that the prototype will see it. But back to the prototype, she describes her as childishly naive and wholly ignorant of her crimes. And while that first one lines up perfectly, we do end up getting this line of dialogue from Lily.
So where the heck am I supposed to be putting these batteries?
We should kill them. No, we can't.
What?
We always kill our friends and then we're alone.
Yep, we're gonna die.
But from the very first interaction, she's not acting like some calculated bigger body mastermind. She's excited, weirdly excited. She genuinely believes we're there for the party. She talks to Candy Cat as if he's fully alive. And when he says something rude about us stinking, which is really just Lily trying to fry us in secret, she scolds him and asks for a nicer way to phrase it. Even the structure of the mansion feels like a coping mechanism. The crumpets, the fake guests, the nursery game, the obsession with everyone staying until the party starts. It doesn't feel like a trap that was engineered for strategic execution. It feels like someone desperately trying to recreate a version of normal. And when we find that skeleton in the bed, carefully preserved, surrounded by poppy flowers and toys, and then watch Lily come in and reassure it, telling it to go back to sleep, well, there's one last piece of info relating to Lily that we have to go over. And that's the 7th audio tape that we find in the game right before meeting Lily Lovebraids, titled 96 Isolation Day 122. That title alone connects perfectly with the notes that we got about the prototype's documentation with Lily, where we get a glimpse of how these minimal conditions have affected Lily. And after listening to this audio notes, you'll quickly notice the disconnection that Lily's growing to have with her former identity, treating her as someone entirely separate now.
Hey there, friends.
Who is this?
Sunny day. I'm Gracie.
What?
Miss Gracie.
Whoa.
You have a first name. What was it?
Whoa. Whoa.
What are we talking about, Miss Grace?
Is she talking to herself?
Is this another lesson?
Just ignore her.
What the?
Not real. It's only you here. Just you.
What is going on?
Aren't I real, Miss Gracie? Miss Gracie says I'm real.
What?
Am Miss Gracie Snap.
Oh, we got another Mr. Light case.
Silly, silly, silly. She's on the screen. She's not actually in the room with us.
Look around.
Why am I still holding this apple?
My face.
My hands, my plastic, my face.
I thought.
Wait. Oh, it. Oh, shoot.
I can't believe I thought you were actually in the room, Miss Gracie. Egg on my face.
Is she deviating from her?
I love
What
Huggy, and I love Kissy.
What the?
And I love all the friends. I wanna go.
Okay.
No, we're gonna have a tea party.
Okay.
I love tea parties.
Okay.
I love crumpets. Crumpets are the best.
Lily Lovebraids is not Stella Graber.
No, we can touch our hair and hang with the friends.
Dude, we can chill now. Y'all. Hold up. I would have never guessed that woman on the show was Lily Lovebraids.
You are a toy.
She's talking to herself.
Always been a toy.
Oh,
I am a toy.
Beautiful thing.
why am I hearing both?
I'm a good toy. I promise.
Are here to be joy.
But now that we've pretty much covered all of the main pieces of info tying this all together, even when we're given the piece that the skeleton is in fact the body of Miss Gracie, evident by the Playtime Co. ID on the side, there's still one question that we need to ask. How does Lily Lovebraids still have the body of the person she was before, that being Miss Gracie? Well, I think that's a theory for another time. Why did the prototype kill Huggy Wuggy? In chapter 5, we are immediately reunited with our old nemesis from chapter 1, a patched up, one-armed Huggy Wuggy.
Yup, and he's swiping at the door one hand. You only got one.
After not being able to kill us in chapter 1, and since we're the cause of his fall to the bottom of the factory, he's out for blood. After narrowly escaping chases and meticulously planning out distractions, Huggy finally gets his hands, on the player. Before he goes in for the kill though, he stops when he sees Kissy Missy standing across from him. The two seem aggressive, teeth out and communicating through screeches. And at this point I'm hyped because it's really seeming like it's about to be a bigger body 1v1. I wanted to see them throw hands so bad. Eventually, Kissy approaches Huggy, no longer aggressive and seeming worried about her old friend. She holds her hand out to touch his, the two about to be reunited after the traumas we've witnessed them experience. But right before they touch, the prototype swoops his claw in and impales Huggy Wuggy through the chest before lifts him up before slamming him into the wall, leaving him to the floor in defeat. The prototype then kills Kissy Missy for reasons we can assume, such as her loyalty to Poppy.
And then we're gonna have to use the magnet. Yup, do a little 180. Oh, is this gonna happen? No. Kissy Missy was the key to saving Huggy. Nah. Oh, they about to have a 1v1. Let's get it going. Come on. Oh. They're reuniting. Yo, how many times were we on the money? They had to have known each other. For all of this. Look, she's worried about him. He's like, what you touching me for? She's like, it's okay. You've been through a lot. They're communicating. Come on, man. Join the right side. No! I'm on the money again. He failed to kill us and he's dead. Bro, Kissy. No. Don't.
But why did the prototype kill Huggy Wuggy? Huggy has been a loyal servant for years. He took out a lot of people in the Hour of Joy, located Dr. Preston and Dr. Newman in their hiding place, and acted as a security guard for the main floor of the factory. Despite the years of service, the prototype decided at the end of chapter 5 that Huggy needed to go. Now, there are several possible reasons for the prototype's decision to kill Huggy. The first and most likely theory is that Huggy no longer served his needs. Huggy failed at being a security guard, allowing the player to find Poppy and travel deeper into Playtime Co. Even after his defeat in chapter 1, the prototype gave him another chance and is likely the one who patched him up, even though I guess he took his arm in the process, bro. Like, look, Huggy then likely acted as a security guard for the laboratory floor of the factory, hence his appearance when the player activates security at the end of chapter 4. His rage once he sees the player could be from a payback standpoint in regard to us knocking him down several stories, but it could also be because he knows he's on thin ice with the prototype. Huggy failed once, the prototype gave him another chance, and now he has an opportunity to either make or break his standing with him. The prototype is known to be quite hostile to those who cross or fail him, which I'm sure Huggy knows after years of living under his tyranny. He doesn't hesitate to eliminate anyone who doesn't serve his goals, which we saw in chapter 3 with Catnap. Catnap failed to kill us at the end of the chapter, so the prototype decided to kill the most loyal and dedicated servant he had, the boy he had saved from death all those years ago, sacrificing his own freedom in the process. Obviously, the prototype has no moral restrictions when it comes to what he'll do to further his agenda and increase his power over the factory. The red smoke was in Catnap's stomach. He took his stomach, bro. The prototype knows that Huggy has once again failed him and proven to be no help to his agenda, and he is ready to take him down for good. The prototype is even shown to be fed up with Huggy during his conversation with Chum Chompkins.
Is he an imposter?
By hunters.
Shall pursue.
1170. But you,
Poppy's 1170, of course.
Make sure there are
eyes everywhere.
then.
Find me, Poppy, before he does something. She'll regret. Nothing is more important to you than this. And you know the price for failure.
Dude, I was on the money. If Huggy does not kill us soon, he knows it is his life that hangs on the line. The desperation is shown in the different chase methods in chapter 1 versus chapter 5. In chapter 1, Huggy does not go in to attack the player until the end of the game. Instead, he stalks us, silently following us around the factory to figure out who we are and what we're doing. When Huggy finally tries to attack us, he doesn't even run after us. He just menacingly follows us at a slow walking pace. Even once we're in the vents, he just crawls after us at a relatively fast speed. He doesn't bother breaking down any walls or gates to get to us. He's just content to follow our path. Unlike in chapter 5, Huggy is noticeably more desperate to get his hands on us, breaking down metal doors, screaming in rage, breaking through glass, jumping on top of an elevator and punching multiple holes in it. This dude is strong and what?
We going through here. You can't catch me. Come on, this is nice, bro. I'm liking this. Huggy, can I get a moment?
Huggy is willing to do whatever it takes to prove to the prototype that he is worth keeping alive. The prototype also could have killed Huggy because he wanted to, in Mommy Longlegs' words, make Huggy a part of him. He already has one of his arms, but what if that's not enough? We know from all the chapters so far that the prototype has been consistently collecting parts of other experiments and adding them on to his twisted body. In his reveal in the Lily Lovebraids segment in chapter 5, we see that the prototype has acquired Huggy's arm, Kissy's arm, Mommy's arm, and Catnap's ability to release the red smoke. He took his stomach. It hasn't been confirmed why the prototype is doing this, but it is likely that he's trying to make himself a big powerful super experiment that no other toy or human could threaten. The bigger and better he gets, the more he can exercise his control over the factory and all the experiments who reside within. In this case, it would make total sense that the prototype wants to use the other parts of Huggy's body to make him stronger. We know that Huggy has some killer strength and multiple rows of sharp teeth. Imagine what the prototype would be capable of if he had both of Huggy's hands and full set of teeth. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw the prototype rocking Huggy and Kissy's other arms or several rows of their teeth in chapter 6. But with all that said, a quick word from our sponsor. So look, if you're watching deep lore videos about Poppy Playtime, chances are you're just as obsessed with this franchise as I am, and Figgy Z just dropped an official Poppy Playtime collection that's honestly incredible, bro. We talking Huggy Wuggy, Kissy Missy, Catnap, Mommy Longlegs, all of them as premium collectible figures, and they were kind enough to send a few over so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. These aren't your typical collectibles either. Figgy Z specializes in limited edition figures from iconic gaming franchises, and the fact that they're collaborating with Mob Entertainment on this, that's huge. And honestly, they've got way more than just Poppy Playtime. I actually ended up getting some characters from the anime Free Run. You know, my dude Stark, red and black's my color scheme, and that dude got it on him. So you can honestly find something that aligns with your interests even if it's not Poppy Playtime. If you want to support the franchise and grab something that's actually going to look clean on your shelf, check out the link in the description. But now, back to the video. Another theory is that the prototype killed Huggy because he realized that he was being swayed to the other side by Kissy Missy. Like I described earlier, the prototype comes up behind Huggy and impales him with his claw during his heartwarming reunion with Kissy. Still haven't gotten over it, bro. Based on the speed and stealth of his attack, the prototype was probably nearby for a while and saw what was going on. He saw Huggy with the player pinned down to the floor, but deciding to let us go when he saw Kissy Missy. Huggy's aggression slowly decreased as Kissy approached and touched him, which the prototype likely took as a sign that Huggy, the once killing machine, was becoming good. This ties back to the previous theory of the prototype killing Huggy because he was no longer of use to him. If Huggy becomes good and switches sides, he's definitely no use to the prototype's agenda. If Huggy Wuggy was redeemed, he could even pose a threat to the prototype. This leads into the next theory, which is that the prototype killed Huggy because he had the potential to harm him. We've seen Huggy's strength in moments of rage, like in the chapter 5 chase scenes where he breaks through this thick metal multiple times. We've seen the strength of Kissy against the prototype, which caused him to scatter away in fear. There is no doubt that Huggy shares her strength and potential to lash out against the prototype if angered enough. With Huggy and Kissy combined, I think they could potentially even kill the prototype, or at least severely maim him. The prototype likely thought that if Huggy was no longer his loyal servant, he better get rid of him while he had the chance to do so, before Huggy could threaten his life. And if other toys knew that Huggy had abandoned the prototype's cause, they might get the courage to do the same. We already know that many of the toys are only loyal to the prototype because they fear him or provides them with resources to stay alive. If one of the most fearsome toys in the whole factory switched to Kissy's anti-prototype side, the toys might have finally gotten the hope of freedom that they lacked for so many years, and they might be willing to put their desperation for survival aside in order to end the prototype once and for all. Now that we've covered theories about why the prototype killed Huggy Wuggy, we can ask some questions about what will happen now that he's dead, or maybe not dead. Is there a possibility that Huggy, and by extension Kissy, is not gone forever? Could the regenerative properties of the Poppy Gel bring Huggy and Kissy back to life? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a theory for another time. What happened to Giblet? After going through our first chase with Huggy and dropping down even deeper into the factory, we end up venturing into this dark and desolate looking area. Using the lights to scare off who we now know as the wrong side Automals, the player gets attacked by one. Dude leaps from cover with his dominant hand fully cocked back just to shoot a right hook square on the left side of the jaw. As we're getting dragged away and pulled into what seems to be a coffin. Yo, future me about to roast me. The experiment ends up getting smacked off by Giblet and his electric bat. It's not a cane. After making sure we're alright, Giblet slowly pieces it together that we are the stranger who's been working our way through the factory, killing some of the most formidable bigger bodies in the process.
Let's go, Giblet.
Alright.
I'm alright, man. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
You're not.
What? What?
You're the one they've been talking about.
Oh,
The
shoot.
one who put mommy in the grinder?
Yeah.
Who gave the cat a nap?
Yeah.
Down here, they're calling you the playtime butcher.
Oh, for real? TPB, huh?
What are you doing all the way down here?
Hey, man, I'm just...
Is Poppy... you were with her, right?
Yeah,
And the rest of them?
Yeah,
Safe haven?
yeah. But,
I heard things.
what did you hear, bro? Oh, nah, we might have
Can't
to
stay here.
Yeah.
I got a place. Just follow
bet.
me.
Alright, bet. I got you, bro. Come on. Your leg broke, right? I can carry you. Oh, he chilling.
As he escorts us to his hideout, Giblet reveals that he knew Poppy before everything, likely referring to the Hour of Joy. And later in the game, Poppy even asks what happened to Giblet upon seeing him all these years later.
Giblet,
The short hair don't look bad, though.
is that you?
Oh, you know Giblet.
What did he do to you?
Oh, her voice box, too.
Don't worry about me.
But once we safely arrive at his hideout, he tells us that he also wants to kill the prototype. He claims that he isn't a hero, but is willing to assist us in our mission.
I know it's not much, but
Oh, I mean, it's nice, bro. I
who
like
needs
it.
fancy murals on the wall and string lights or a barber shop or whatever.
Yeah, I feel you, bro. Some people, you know, they like
I got
something.
plans. Anyway,
Yeah?
I'm not gonna be down here forever.
Oh, so what's the plan, man? Oh,
Look, I'm not the kind of guy who spends time feeling sorry for himself. I mean,
Right.
the way I see it, everything's a tragedy until it's meant to be. You think this is an accident? You ending up down here like this? Both of us wanted to kill the prototype.
Man, what you talking about? This Poppy.
I mean, that's where this train is headed, right?
I think so, though.
I'm not some kind of hero, but I can help you.
Okay.
But we gotta get you outfitted first. You're not gonna last down here with just a cheap nightlight.
Man, I tried to tell you about the Huggy
Yeah,
Wuggy.
chirp all you want. I'm the one who scared off all those animals.
I just tried to tell you I got my grab pack snatched, man, by Huggy Wuggy. You won't listen. You in your own world, bro. You must be old. And now what type of stand-in was that?
The rest of his time in the chapter is spent sending us to the boiler room to find a new grab pack, sending us to engineering to find data about the prototype.
Master backup? I can read it off. I don't even need to grab this. Oh, wait, it's the data.
And even helping us get through the endgame train chase with the prototype. At the end of the game, after being struck by the prototype and left to simmer, Giblet saves us from the vat of poppy gel and shocks us back to life, only for him and the player to get into the backup system and learn that Harley Sawyer is still alive.
Oh. Why are we scared? Why are we scared? Like, look at the computer, dude. It's a computer.
Throughout chapter 5, Giblet proves himself to be a helpful and intelligent ally, and it's likely that he'll be a great help to us in chapter 6. We don't know a lot about his history, but we are able to find lore throughout chapter 5 and in the ARG that begins to explain this creature. So who is this character, and what is his history at the factory, and what will we get with him moving forward? Well, our first encounter with Giblets comes in the form of a YouTube short titled Experiment 1202, posted by Mob on November 25th. We see parts of a Hoppy Hopscotch toy hanging on hooks before the head falls down and the shadow of a small creature runs by and gets electrocuted off screen. And when pairing that video with how we got saved by Giblets in chapter 5, not only can we conclude that the character off screen was Giblet himself, but also what was used in order order to electrocute the experiment, which had been getting teased pretty heavily. Interestingly, while we try to navigate around these Automals, we end up finding the exact scene where the experiment 1202 was made. Our next glimpse of Giblets is in a photo located in the Systems Recovery Data folder from the ARG puzzle. In photo number 5, we can see a blurry picture with hooks in the background and a creature's ear and eye. And I actually never thought this was a bird, but we know this is Giblets because of the purple color of his pupil, which is easily visible throughout chapter 5. We don't have any clues as to what this room is or what Giblet is doing, only that it looks like the same room he was in the experiment 1202 video. That's all the info we get from the ARG, and everything else we know is from chapter 5 itself. A good question to start off with is, what is Giblet? All the other toys we've seen in the series besides for the prototype have been attached to a toy released by Playtime Co. We could have inferred that Giblet was one of the prototype's experiments and didn't have a corresponding toy, but that's proven false by the cardboard cutout we find of a very similar looking creature in the recycling and reclamation area.
What up, Giblet? Let me hear that voice. Giblet. What no? I don't think that matches. I thought he was like a, hey, I don't know.
Also on Giblet's bathroom mirror to cover up his own reflection, and I was frying them, bro. I'm sorry.
I don't.
That's just nothing. That's
right.
just a piece of trash.
Yeah. Right. You want to?
Look.
What?
No way you're getting around with that grab pack.
What?
You should head to the boilers.
Nah, I think I must keep surveying and observing your home, your whatever you got here. And it's looking like you got a nice set of tools, right? And I don't know why you feeling so insecure, and I don't know why you getting so worked up and nervous about the fact that you got the poster right on the sink every time you wake up and try to watch your face. You look at the poster and try to relive the good old days like you saw. Sorry.
But we still aren't able to tell what exactly this toy is supposed to be. Some have theorized that this toy is a fox or a dog, specifically a chihuahua. And if that's the case, we got the world's first chill chihuahua, bro.
And we got another note.
Don't mess with that.
Man, what?
Personal.
Man, you told me to catch my breath. When I catch my breath, I like to lay down. So when I'm getting me some rest, I better not hear you making a sound, and I don't even want you around, so you go to the pipes.
But all we know for certain about this toy is what its purpose was: to make kids feel safe and brave. The first thing that stood out to me with Giblets was that the toy's purpose is exactly what Giblet does for the player in chapter 5, to help us feel safe and protect us. As he describes, he is not a hero, but a helpful, optimistic, and supportive ally. He shocks the Automals and guides us through different tasks. He takes us to the safety of his hideout in the beginning of the chapter.
I mean, you look nice. Oh, what the? He giving this some. He can put up. Look at the hips. Look at the hips. He put some pep in this stuff.
He consistently tries to help us in our goal to defeat the prototype, except for when the prototype pulled up. You picked a good spot to hide, bro, because I was shaking in my boot. But what does all of this say overall about Giblet? Well, it shows that by nature, he's a good person that wants to help people. And with that, it makes sense why he thought Poppy's idea of blowing up the entire factory was crazy. I thought it was crazy, and I'm worse than the prototype he didn't kill Kissy Me. He truly cares about the experiments inside and wants to help them survive as best he can. This protective nature is shown in the yellow security log tape as well. We start off by hearing Bobby Bearhug chastise Giblet for tying up survivors of the Hour of Joy instead of killing them. Giblet replies, saying that they're innocent and didn't have anything to do with the experimentation. The prototype soon appears and questions why there are survivors. He ends up telling Giblet that his only option is to kill the survivors, which Giblet does unwillingly, hence the crying we can hear in the background.
This is ridiculous. Tying them up, leaving them in there. Just kill them and be done with it.
It wasn't supposed to be like this.
Don't be a coward. You know what they did to us.
Okay, what did these people do? Huh? They work in the warehouse. They've never even been down to play care. You don't know them any more than I do. Let's just leave before...
Survivors. In there. He tied them up.
Why?
because he's soft.
But this isn't... I can't. I just can't.
You can. You have to.
No. No,
They can't leave. And they can't stay.
But I never wanted this.
Want is inconsequential. We agreed.
We do this.
Together.
It would make sense that someone with a protective and helpful nature such as Giblet would want to avoid killing innocents, and that it upset him as much as it did. In fact, I believe that this particular scenario upset him so much that he decided to abandon the prototype's cause and join Poppy's. He likely could have dealt with the killing of guilty people, or not having to kill them himself, but it seems like being forced to kill multiple innocents was his last straw. With that, we can infer that soon after this happened, Giblet left the prototype to side with Poppy and Doughy. While in engineering, the player overhears Giblet tell Chum Chompkins about his disagreement with Doughy. Giblet thought that it was better to seek shelter in the recycling center, while Doughy thought that Safe Haven was the best spot.
Return to Giblet and Chum. Okay, so they're not in danger or anything.
Mining charges. You was gonna burn the whole place down.
Yeah, bro.
Heart's in the right place. Man, that girl's been behind glass too long.
Yeah, she crazy. I told her she crazy. Heart's in the right place, but she's trying to blow everything up.
What happened to him? And I'm not gonna be the one to tell her. You know, Doughy. I'm sorry about what happened, but you know how it was. I always said it was safer down in recycling. I was right.
Giblet ended up being right though, because everyone in Safe Haven was killed by the prototype in the last chapter. We don't know the exact timeline of events after this, but the prototype got his hands on Giblet sometime between his disagreement with Doughy and the player's arrival in the labs. When Poppy sees Giblet after the prototype cracked their face off, she asks him what he did to him, more than likely referring to the prototype. Giblet doesn't tell her what happened, but it's obvious based on his stitched up body and the limp in his leg, which could just be that bite, that the prototype tortured him. Since the prototype seems to have an affinity for turning toys wrong side out, that is most likely what he did to Giblet. I mean, compared to his cardboard cutout, the poor dude looked rough, and that's no pun intended, because if he ends up being a dog. Referring back to the Experiment 1202 video and the ARG photo, it could be possible that this is either footage of Giblet's escape from the prototype or footage of when Giblet smacked that 1202 experiment in the short, evidenced by the hooks that we see in the background. In fact, all three of these pieces of evidence have hooks, so at this point it's looking pretty likely that this was the case. As far as how he escaped, there's no solid theory on how that exactly happened, but based on his intellect and knowledge about technology within the factory, it may very well be possible that he was able to make that electric bat to fight his way out of the prototype's labs.
Hey, you found something.
What'd I find?
This is it.
What?
This is... Chum, what is this? Negation formula. Sounds spicy. And
how the heck do you understand it?
We got it stored on a backup in IT.
Now, it is definitely possible that this theory is untrue, because we do see the prototype's wrong side Automals wandering all over the lab floor. So who's to say that the prototype didn't wrong side out Giblet and release him back into the wild? But it seems like this isn't true for a couple of reasons. The wrong side Automals we encountered could likely be random experimentation that wasn't intended to be punishment. Giblet's, however, was definitely intended to be punishment. The prototype wanted Giblet to suffer after his betrayal, and if Giblet is on Poppy's side, why would the prototype experiment on him and just let him leave? Just because he's wrong side out doesn't mean that he can't be a rebel. If anything, it would make him more of a rebel. So it may be possible that the prototype kept him prisoner in his labs times after the wrong side out procedure. It's the only explanation for a punishment that wouldn't result in death, but eternal anguish. And it gets even more sinister when you think about the actual definition of giblet. Giblets, pronounced giblet in this context, are the internal organs of poultry such as the heart and liver. Poultry is often sometimes sold with the giblets included, meaning that the pieces are removed, cleaned, and put back inside the bird. And when you pair that fact with everything revolving around giblets, it just makes the situation seem all the more devastating. Assuming that the prototype did his wrong side out procedure on him, think of what the literal definition is implying. That the prototype removed what was inside, turning him inside out, put everything back in, and stitched him up. Now, initially, it'd be natural to think of the same thing that we got from the Audibles commercial that dropped beside Chapter 5's release. But that's when we get the dark and twisted version of this idea, with the rapid shots of the prototype experimenting on toys and making them wrong side out. The literal definition of giblets, just gives the prototype's actions a whole new context, and it makes you feel the true weight of what these toys had to go through. So now that we have all of this new information about Giblet, we can confidently say that his story is one of the most heartbreaking ones in the series. A couple miles behind Kissy Missy though, an orphan turned into a bigger body who followed the prototype's lead in the hour of joy to try to obtain freedom, who then had to kill innocent people and turned against the prototype because of it, whose body got wiped clean, turned wrong side out, and stuffed back up. It's hard to believe that after all he's gone through, Giblet is the same toy who tells Poppy that what happened to them does not have to define them. I'm sure that in Chapter 6, Giblet will show his resilience and bravery even more and play a huge part in defeating the prototype once and for all. What happened to Poppy in Chapter 5? After getting downright kidnapped by Lily Lovebraids and forced to help set up the party, specifically bringing up the crumpets from the oven in the basement, we end up coming across both Kissy and Poppy trapped in a cell. Let's go.
It's you.
Yup.
You're alive.
In the flesh. What's good?
I know saying
Dang,
I'm sorry
Kissy.
won't mean much to you at this point,
It won't.
but I am sorry for running away,
Okay.
for not letting you leave at the game station,
Oh, you being specific.
for everything.
Oh.
I thought if we could just get the orphans out. We tried to cross Sweet Street. I didn't know she was still here after all this time.
Yeah, that sounds
If-
right.
You can help us get out. Maybe find a lever or a key. Anything.
After a bit of venturing, we find the yellow key in order to break them out, and after playing a game with Lily leading up to the nursery, we pull ourselves up to the attic with Kissy and Poppy. At first, it's looking like we're gonna be able to make our escape, but Lily must have been full stride booking it all the way up to us, and we end up being forced to attend this party anyway. And so, with us, Poppy, Kissy, the three guests, and Lily all gathered at the table, Lily announces the special guest who we now know as the prototype. And once he arrives, the conversation immediately shifts to him and Poppy, to which Poppy asks, "Where are the orphans?" Lily tries to butt in, saying that she doesn't know. And at that point, I was thinking the same exact thing as the prototype, which is a first, cause that dude just no-looked the Candy Cat doll just to say to Lily, "Shut your mouth." And that she does. The prototype responds by saying, "I did what they had to. They're in a better place," which to me feels a bit flatly delivered, but I'll explain what I mean by that in its own video. Poppy, crushed and angered by this, calls the prototype a monster, which seems to trigger him almost. Prototype props one of his legs up, leans in close, and says that he was the one to build them a home and keep them safe. The only repayment that he got was Poppy bringing us, an outsider, in, also adding that she was trying to destroy the only quote-unquote heaven that she and him will ever get. This dude is weird, dude. He then calls back to the time where Poppy was trapped in her case, saying that he had hoped that all the time she had spent there would help her see reason. Now guys, you already know that at some point I'm making a video about that line. If you know, you know. With those lines said though, the prototype admits that these lines of events were his fault, and as he's saying this, he picks Poppy up by the head, almost the same way you'd see those claw machines do it. He tries to justify her behavior with how she was made, and at this point, the prototype seems to slowly be tightening his grip on Poppy's face. She cries out that he's hurting her, but the prototype reassures Poppy, saying to not be afraid and that he can fix her, make her better. Poppy and the prototype are now face to face, with Poppy now at her limits with how the prototype is holding her, crying out one last time to stop. The grip that the prototype had on Poppy just keeps getting tighter, which results in him shattering the left side of Poppy's face, which at this point really just makes it look like he killed Poppy. Like I was shook.
Yes, their theories were true, bro. That's the surprise you were talking about?
What did you do with them?
Oh.
Where are the orphans?
This is like a... This is a serious meeting. Oh. Yeah, shut up.
What I had to.
They're
A better place now.
This dude the boss, bro. Look how he just shut up Lily Lovebraids like that.
I built us a home and kept us safe. And you repaid me by bringing in an outsider.
Oh, why you looking at me?
Plotting to destroy the only having you.
So Poppy was the one that wrote the note.
I had hoped your time in the case
Help you see reason.
She really tried to recruit us.
Now.
This was my fault.
Oh. Oh, nah.
act like a child.
Put her down, bro.
because
The child.
Is what they made you.
And what did they make you?
You're hurting me!
Don't be afraid.
I can fix you.
This ain't it.
Can make better.
Oh! No! What you about to do to me?
Now, one thing I am gonna make note of, which I'm sure is something you guys also noticed too, is the fact that the prototype reacts almost as if he didn't mean to do that. Could this be tying into the idea that the prototype truly does have a twisted way of expressing gratitude and showing affection, like when he put Preston into a cat bee toy just for helping him with the hour of joy? Bars. Or could this perhaps be a slight glimpse for how the prototype feels about Poppy? The idea that even though in his eyes she's done things that require punishment, that punishment shouldn't be something like what he just did here. And you can even see Kissy's reaction to this, where she tries to break out of Lily's hold and defend Poppy. The prototype then slowly turns to us, the outsider, the butcher, and asks if we should see what we look like wrong side out. But here's what's important out of all of this. The prototype does call back to when Poppy was in her glass case, and interestingly enough, when traversing through the game, specifically when we're trying to move past the boiler room where we find the old grab pack in Bron's mouth, video coming soon, before assessing the full damage of Poppy, we do end up finding a cassette tape that directly goes into the situation that the prototype was talking about, which starts with Poppy apparently hiding in her room. From what the prototype says, she's run away from the rebellion that she started, and Poppy responds basically saying that she can't be who they need, and that she didn't ask for any of them to look up to her. And despite all of that, she's failed, and the prototype finishes that sentence for her, saying that it just scared her, so she ran like a child. Poppy then pleads for the prototype to stop what he's doing, saying that he wanted better. If he doesn't let the orphans go, then he simply won't get what he wants. Poppy asks if he sees that, and even goes further, saying that if he kills her, then all of the other toys will be fighting each other for years. With that said, Poppy pleads one last time to let them go, and no one else will need to die for either of them. The prototype responds by saying that everything dies, everything except them. And from the tape, we can hear what seems like the prototype grabbing Poppy and bringing her over to the case. As he's doing so, he says that she refuses the truth and reality. In regards to the orphans, they can never go free, and the work must continue. Otherwise, Poppy and the prototype will be left lonely, and as he likes to say it, infinity will be lonely. And with it becoming pretty apparent that the prototype and Poppy are not going to be seeing eye to eye, no pun intended, this is where it gets a little heavy. Roll the clip. Is this a continuation? I knew Poppy was about to bust out crying. Was she here? Oh! She started all this? She had to be a leader. See? She ain't want to be a leader. Failed. Excuse me. That's exactly what happened.
Stop this. Please. You wanted something better, but if you don't let the orphans go, you won't get it. Don't you see that?
What's your goal?
Even if you kill me, you'll be fighting the others for years. Please, just let them go, and no one else needs to die for either of us. Please.
So she is on the good side.
Dies, Poppy.
Everything except us.
So what that mean? Oh! What the? What is he doing? What the heck is he doing?
Otherwise, we'll be left with
And infinity will be
one way to make you see this.
Is it? What? This was... Oh my... And with that cassette tape, we could make the assumption that this is the last time that the prototype and Poppy have interacted with each other, up until the family reunion at the party. If you know, you know. Video coming soon. But back to the party, once Lily gets the horsehair smacked out of her scalp,
I ain't even scared, bro. You took out.
Kissy takes this as the perfect opportunity to attack the prototype, and she just treated him like a lawnmower, just yanked the cord. I'm surprised he didn't start flying around the room. In the midst of all this chaos, Kissy ends up taking Poppy and making a break for it up the stairs, where we get cut off by Lily and forced to just put her down, bro. Roll the clip.
Rest in pieces, Lily. It was nice knowing you. Lily, you alright?
After this, we finally meet back up with Poppy, Kissy, and even Giblet, who pops out from the vents at the exact moment I was asking about this dude.
All right, so we got Giblet. I haven't seen him in a minute. Faced with Giblet, we got that new experiment, and here he is. The timing, y'all.
Look,
Huh? What?
I told you I'm not a hero. Is she okay?
I don't know, bro. Are you okay? Oh,
How?
Poppy.
How
What? How bad is it?
bad
Oh.
is it?
Oh.
You're...
Nah, she got the
You're gonna be
meat.
okay, Poppy. We'll
muscle.
find a way.
Giblet?
The short hair don't look bad though.
Is that you?
Oh, you know Giblet.
And we get shown the entire aftermath of this whole conflict. And during this, Poppy actually recognizes who Giblet is, which, without even trying to get too deep into what this means, gives us enough to make the assumption that these two knew each other even before the Hour of Joy. If you watched my What Happened to Giblet video, you'd notice that not only was I talking about how long Giblet's weapon has been teased, but also Poppy's reaction upon Giblet showing her. It's basically to say that the last time Poppy had seen Giblet and his weapon was before the prototype experimented on him, which is why she asks what he did to him. So with all of that said, the only thing we can do at this point is speculate on what this means for chapter 6. Will this be the chapter where Poppy actually dies? Will we be able to fix Poppy before the prototype fixes Poppy? Will we learn more about the relationship between Giblet and Poppy? how is Harley Sawyer still alive? At the end of chapter 5, we experience one of the most shocking revelations in the series. After the train chase, the prototype impales us with his claw and drops us into a big tub of poppy gel, presumably to start the process of turning us into a toy. Theory coming soon. Giblet manages to save us though by shocking us back to life with his electric bat. We immediately venture into the data center to find the backup system with the information needed to defeat the prototype. After overriding the backup system with our grab pack, we can see an eye appear on the computer screen. We hear Harley Sawyer's voice saying that it's an interesting turn of events, referring to the fact that the activation of the backup system has brought him back to life.
Oh, and what do we have here? It's gonna be a video. Oh. Why are we scared? Why are we scared? Like, look at the computer, dude. It's a computer.
Well, this is a rather interesting turn.
Man, move, Sawyer. The heck, bro? Always trying to stalk somebody. That better not be Sawyer. That better be the prototype. Better not still be alive, man.
But how is this possible? Is there something we missed with the supposed death in chapter 4? Were there extra steps taken in order to ensure his survival and preserve his consciousness? Was there a predetermined plan that Sawyer knew would work in his favor and that he planned long before we ever set foot in his lair? And what's crazy is that when I first posted this video, it did horribly. But most of the things that we're going to be mentioning in this video actually mirror most of the theories that I was trying to craft in that video. So highly recommend checking it out. Link will be in the description. But in order to understand the full picture, we got to move back to chapter 4 and what we thought was the end of the Doctor.
Yo, look where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. Oh shoot, we get into the good stuff. This is where Sawyer be at.
When we enter the Doctor's lair, one of Sawyer's robots tosses us into a room below, and we have to avoid all the other robots in order to collect the batteries necessary to open the path to Sawyer's brain. Once we make it to his brain's computer terminal, we remove the Omni chip, press a button, and he dies. I might have known it was too good to be true. But right before he supposedly dies, the Doctor leaves us with some haunting words.
What is going on? Oh my goodness. Did this thing just explode? Oh, they're done moving.
You
Oh.
saved.
Oh, did I?
You've saved no one. Now, what did Sawyer mean by this? Now that we've learned so much from chapter 5, we can theorize about the true meaning behind those words. One explanation is that he meant that the player saved no one from him. Sawyer's already done his damage, both as a human and as a digital consciousness. He's been complicit in the experimentation and killing of so many orphans. He may be implying that all the toys in the factory are already beyond saving because they're already toys. Killing him won't save the lives he's already taken. Sawyer may even agree with the prototype that the toys have no chance at life outside of the factory. He may be using that info to taunt the player one last time. Another explanation is that Sawyer knows what happened to the orphans. It wouldn't be surprising if the prototype was using the orphans for his experiments, and as one of his collaborators, it is likely that Sawyer knew that the orphans were beyond saving. He wants to taunt the player into thinking that our efforts were futile and that we've done all this work for nothing, that the orphans were long gone before we stepped foot in the factory in chapter 1. One last explanation is that this was Sawyer's way of subtly revealing to the player that he was not gone for good. Since Sawyer's consciousness was already uploaded into the backup system, he knew that he would be able to come back to life one day and continue either collaborating with the prototype or his efforts efforts to stop the player and Poppy. Sawyer's words were one last attempt to let the player know that us and our allies were already doomed, and that for him, this death was just a transition. Now that we've explored the doctor's motives, we can circle back to how exactly he's still alive. Our first clue about Sawyer's consciousness being backed up comes from the warden tape in chapter 4. During the hour of joy, the warden comes to Sawyer, panicked and unsure how to survive the ordeal. Sawyer ends up convincing him to hand over the Omni Hand by saying he'll use it to guide him to safety.
You didn't see the trail of limbs down the hall. Didn't hear the things eating. The wet crunches of bones. God,
There is something you can do, Warden. I can help you.
How? You're stuck in there. You can't...
My body's here. Sure. But my mind...
What?
The Omni Hand. If you give it to me, I can get you anywhere. I'll have control over everything. I can shut some doors, open others. I can make you a pathway that leads right to the exit.
I don't know.
If you want to wait to get torn to pieces, that's your prerogative. But look at your immediate options, Warden. What choice other than this gets you out of here alive?
I'm giving you the tool. Just get me out of here. Please.
Of course. You've made a smart decision, Warden. I promise I'll get you out of here safe and sound.
So what does all this mean? Well, this shows that even though Sawyer had a brain that we destroyed in chapter 4, his essence is still digital. When we kill an experiment, we're taking on its bigger body. Unlike with Sawyer, who does not have one and is purely a digital consciousness. When we defeat creatures like Mommy Longlegs and Catnap, we're destroying their physical bodies. Their existence is tied to the flesh of their bodies. Sawyer's existence is not dependent on a physical body that is required by most to maintain life. In a way, when Leith Pierre gave the orders to turn Sawyer into a machine, it was essentially killing him. So we can't look at the doctor like the other experiments where we can just destroy physical bodies, which in this case would be his brain. Sawyer's existence is so much more than that. Even though he still has aspects of his physical body, his mind is on a whole other plane of existence, a digital one. Control of the Omni Hand would give his digital consciousness the ability to exercise full control over the factory. He would gain access to systems he had not been able to access since his transformation, or even when he was a human. So if Sawyer's life is tied to technology, it makes sense that frying his brain wouldn't kill him, as his consciousness was already tied to the factory itself via the backup. The essence of his mind was already located somewhere outside of his brain and terminal. Destroying hardware doesn't erase the data if it's uploaded somewhere else. The doctor even seems to be aware of this fact and shares some intel with the player when we're navigating his lair. He tells us that the experiments mean nothing to him and that they are purely the result of Elliot Ludwig's naivety. He then goes on to say that the experiments will be of no help in this situation because he'll bury himself so deep that neither the player, the prototype, or anyone can find him. With full control of the Omni Hand and therefore full control of the factory, does this mean that Sawyer has control over the backup files as well? He said that he would bury himself deep where no one would find him, alluding to a location that is incredibly hard to find. It makes sense that Sawyer would choose to preserve himself in a system that is only accessible on the bottom floor of the factory via grab pack override. Now, just because Harley's consciousness is uploaded to the backup, that doesn't mean that he was the one to do it. The executives at Playtime Co. could have done it in case of an emergency where Harley's brain would be destroyed. They rely on him for his scientific knowledge, the very reason he was experimented on in the first place. So it makes sense that Playtime Co. would want to take every measure possible to ensure his mind's survival. It could also be argued that maybe the prototype was the one to upload Sawyer to the backup, as he did use his knowledge for his own experimentation after the Hour of Joy. However, this does seem unlikely. There's always been a strained dynamic between the prototype and the Doctor. To start with, Sawyer was the main person to experiment on the prototype, which obviously the prototype did not appreciate. After the Hour of Joy, the prototype only kept Sawyer around because he was useful, which he doesn't hesitate to let Sawyer know. The prototype is only one straw away from destroying the Doctor. His presence is something that the prototype merely tolerates. It is doubtful that he would go to such an extreme effort just to make a backup of Sawyer when he's already shown how far he'll go to kill any experiment that does not serve his goals. However, in the long run, it doesn't matter how the Doctor's consciousness was put into the backup system. All that matters now is that he's back, and what that means for the player and chapter 6. Could Sawyer possibly be our ally in the next chapter? If so, what would be his motives for helping us? What has changed that he now feels it more beneficial for him to help us instead of the prototype? If helping us somehow increased his odds of survival, it would make sense that he would want to switch sides. Not only could he be our ally, but will he play an active part in the takedown of the prototype? Will he do something to try to directly harm him in the next chapter instead of just helping the player navigate the next area? Or will Sawyer's return mean the complete opposite? Will the prototype have a new ally in chapter 6, and will he therefore be even harder to avoid and defeat? Whichever way Sawyer decides to go, we know one thing for certain: that the Doctor will be a literal game changer in our fight against the prototype, and his presence will mean life or death for future characters. What happened to the prototype? During and after our confrontation with Lily Lovebraids, we get a lot of information about the prototype in chapter 5, including his long-awaited face reveal, but also the identity of the person that was turned into this bigger body, which we now know is not Elliot Ludwig. So what happened to him? Who was he originally, and how does this new info about the prototype help us understand the move for chapter 6? Well, while we're making our way through the engineering workshop, we come across a cassette tape tucked away in one of the workstations. The label reads audio tape number 9, and we immediately begin to hear a conversation between two people. One voice we immediately recognize is Elliot Ludwig, the founder of Playtime Co. The voice is calm, gentle, almost paternal, but the other voice, it's a kid, a boy who sounds hurt, defensive, and on the verge of breaking down. The tape starts with Elliot asking if Oliver said something, calling out his name gently, like he's trying to coax a response out of him, but Oliver stays silent. Elliot tries again, saying that if Oliver wants to talk, he's there for him, and that he doesn't pretend to know how Oliver's feeling. But before he can finish that thought, Oliver cuts him off. This was always about her. Elliot, caught off guard, asks what he means, but Oliver doesn't let up. He clarifies it was never about him, never about his better place. It was always for her. She's all Elliot ever talks about. Elliot tries to respond, calling Oliver my boy, but Oliver immediately shuts that down. He tells Elliot not to call him that Ollie is gone, and all that's left is what he really is: a test run, a prototype. And then there's a pause. Elliot doesn't know how to respond. Then Oliver says something darker. He tells Elliot that when he gets her back, he'll pick up a hammer, just like him, just like they all did. Elliot finally responds, saying that nothing can make things go back to how they used to be, but that they could still be a family if Oliver wants. He adds that he thinks Oliver and her would get along really well, and that as for Oliver's name, Elliot can call him whatever he likes. Oliver, after a moment, asks when he can meet her, and Elliot responds, soon, I hope, very soon.
Did you say something? Oliver? If you want to talk, I'm here. I don't pretend to know how you're feeling, but
It's always about her.
what do you mean? No, Ollie.
It was never about me. Never about my better place. It was for her. She's all you talk about.
Oh, my boy.
You don't get
call me that. Ollie's gone and I'm a test run on the prototype. And you care back, you'll pick up a hammer just like him. Just like
Nothing can make things go back to how they used to be, but we could be a family if you want. And for what it's worth, I think you and her would get along really well. And as for your name, well, I can call you whatever you like.
Can I meet her?
Soon. I hope. Very soon.
Alright, so let's break this down, because this one conversation gives us the entire foundation of who the prototype was before everything went downhill. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to be showing you guys something that seems to be heavily implying what the prototype looked like before he ever turned into Experiment 1006. But at the start of this recording, Ludwig refers to the boy as Oliver and Ollie, which is a name we've heard before. In chapter 3 and 4, our mysterious phone companion, Ollie, helped us navigate through the under levels of the factory. Many of us in the community have long theorized that Ollie was a child that was somehow still living in the factory 10 years after the Hour of Joy, and was an ally of Poppy. However, at the end of chapter 4, it's finally revealed that Ollie was actually one of the many voices of the prototype all along. So, from this tape, it's safe to assume that this boy that Ludwig is talking to is the one that becomes the prototype. I mean, the dang name is literally Elliot in the prototype, and the kid's name is Ollie, bro. This is also later supported with the following dialogue from Ollie himself. During this interaction, though, we also hear Elliot referring to Oliver a few times as my boy. While we don't know for sure what their relationship is, we can theorize that Ollie is maybe the adopted son of Elliot, or at least an orphan from Playcare that the founder was fond of. Because of this, could we make the theory that the orphan body that was found at the estate of the late Elliot Ludwig was in fact the prototype's original body? What I'm talking about is the radio that we end up hearing in Home Sweet Home in chapter 3.
Tragic news this morning. As of 9:45 a.m., local authorities report that the body of a young boy has been found on the estate of the late Elliot Ludwig, an esteemed toy maker and originator of the Playtime Company. At this time, an identity for the child awaits official confirmation. Following recent events, Playtime Co. was asked for any comment regarding the discovery. This is what they had to say. Quote, "It's sickening. Elliot Ludwig was a great man, and those who knew him understood that he was not capable of violence, let alone what others now claim. He had a deep love in his heart for children like this one, making the actions of whoever planted this body all the more sick. We look forward to clearing his good name, both in the public eye and in the eyes of the law."
And with that, since the body was found in his home, it seems more likely that Elliot may have adopted Ollie or had some kind of guardianship over him. Elliot may have taken the boy in because he felt bad for him. Ollie mentions what they did in picking up a hammer just like him, probably in reference to his parents, namely his biological father. So, Elliot may have adopted Ollie because he felt bad for the boy having suffered abuse from his original family. Or maybe Elliot actually did want a son. We've known since chapter 1 that Elliot had an unfortunate family event, which we've always assumed was the loss of his daughter. And it's been long theorized that the Poppy doll we're teaming up with is this daughter, which has been confirmed during the most recent ARG leading up to chapter 5. Maybe Elliot wanted to fill that void left behind the loss of his only child and his wife leaving. In the tape, we do hear him reassure Ollie and tell him that they can be a family if he wants to be. But the most likely theory is that Elliot only had Ollie in his care so he could experiment to bring his long lost daughter, Poppy, back. I say most most likely because in Ollie's own words, it was always about her. It was never about me, never about my better place. It was for her. She's all you talk about. While I'm sure Elliot did care for the boy, since we've been told throughout the series that he had a love for children and only wanted to bring them joy, it seems like based on this conversation that it's more likely Elliot only took guardianship of Ollie because he needed a larger test subject, like he mentioned in the notes we found in his office back in chapter 2. So Elliot moved on from experimenting on rats to his adoptive son, in the hopes that he would finally find the answer to bring his daughter back to life. And based on Ollie's dialogue, we can assume this boy went through a lot of experiments. He says, "I'm a test run, a prototype." We can see that Ollie's starting to see himself as nothing but a guinea pig to Elliot, telling the founder that all this experimenting was only ever about Poppy, which makes me think that this better place Ollie refers to is an idea or lie that Elliot tried to use to soothe the boy and make him feel better about what was being done to him. Kind of like how Playtime Co. eventually used brainwashing on the bigger bodies and other toys. So if we were to move with that theory, could it be possible that this better place eventually manifested into something that Ollie or the prototype tried to actually turn into a reality, with that being the current location that the orphans are residing, because the better place has been treated as a noun this entire time. It's been capitalized.
Where are the orphans?
This is like a serious meeting. Oh, yeah, shut up.
What I had to.
Very.
A better place now.
This dude the boss, bro.
But just letting that simmer for a bit, we obviously know Elliot was successful, as it's been confirmed that Poppy is in fact his daughter. But with all this new information from chapter 5, we can finally piece together a big part of Poppy and the prototype's relationship. Before the prototype was the prototype, we knew him as only his experiment number 1006. And well, in chapter 5, we've just been given Poppy's experiment number 1007, which was the exact number that Harley Sawyer was meant to monitor all the way back in chapter 4. So now we got that confirmation. And in previous chapters, the prototype has told Poppy it's about what we are, or it's always been about you and me. Based on this cassette tape, we get confirmation that he was the experiment that made Poppy's existence even possible. Elliot was using Ollie as a test subject to perfect the experimental process before he tried it on his late daughter. It could be possible that he used the boy as his lab rat because he didn't want to risk anything going wrong with the experimental process that might cause harm to Poppy or ruin any chances of bringing her back. And after having perfected the process on Ollie, only then would he be able to replicate it on Poppy, thus making her experiment 1007. While we don't know the extent of these experiments, we do know that it eventually took a toll on Ollie. This tape was a small snippet of his feelings regarding the experiments Elliot performed, and we know that they continued to experiment and dissect him long after his father passed, which we believe is to perfect the process to the point where the toys would not require food to survive. It's probably this continued experimentation in captivity that drove the prototype to orchestrate the Hour of Joy with the help of sympathetic Playtime Co. staff. But after listening to this conversation between Ollie and Ludwig, I think we finally understand where the prototype's obsession with Poppy stems from. The conversations he had with his guardian and their familial ties. Theory 1. It's possible that he could be trying to be protective of Poppy. Maybe he feels that he needs to watch over her, as he states that he feels betrayed by Poppy bringing an outsider, the player, into the home that he's built for the two of them and kept them safe. So maybe he's taking on a big brother role, as Elliot seems to instill a sense of real importance about her, and he's just trying to keep his sister safe, albeit in a very misguided way. Theory 2. It could be that he's trying to punish Poppy because Elliot clearly loved her more. He probably blames her for his fate and everything he's had to endure, at least at Playtime Co. She is literally the reason that he's the prototype, and he could also feel resentment towards her because her father loved her so unconditionally, so much to the point where he was willing to sacrifice Ollie's life for her. And he may be jealous because this is something that he's never had from either set of parents he's had. However, it's possible that he's trying to keep her in the factory because he's trying to keep the Ludwig family together. And he is so adamant about finding her and controlling her because he viewed her rebellion after the Hour of Joy as a complete betrayal, which was only worsened by the player's arrival. While he may blame her for everything that's happened, he has not outright stated that this is the reason he's after Poppy. Instead, he tells her that he's building a safe home for them. He's continuing the experiments for them. It seems like Elliot talked about his daughter so often and sold Ollie on the idea of family and having a sister that it conditioned him into thinking he constantly needed to centralize Poppy. I believe a lot of their story comes down to the psychology of siblings and how they can have two separate experiences under the same roof. Poppy, after she was brought back, seemed to have a pretty good life in the factory before her father's death. Elliot's even spared her from all of the experiments, instead using Ollie. She seems to have been allowed to maintain her innocence and live out her life with her father as a child. Quote, "You act like a child because the child
is what they made you."
Whereas Ollie knew nothing but pain and suffering brought on by the very hands that were supposed to be his safe place. His parents abused him, and then Elliot told them they could be a family, all while using him as a means to bring his only child back from the dead. This is also further reflected in both of their designs. Poppy is a doll, something that's small, fragile, innocent, which matches her personality for most of the series. But Ollie was turned into a giant robotic spider? Do we blame the alcohol after the divorce? Like, what is this? But regardless, his body in multiple voices seem to reflect his mental state, how all those horrors he's endured are now on the surface. And now that we officially have the prototypes reveal, it's interesting to see how much their designs seem to mirror each other. During his big reveal, you can notice that the prototype's porcelain face is cracked just like Poppy's. And after the damage is done to her during Lily's tea party, we can see that Poppy's face now mimics the prototype, since she's now missing her left eye, whereas he's missing his right. It's possible that this change is a small reflection of the loss of innocence that Poppy's had to experience, with her brother being the one to try to show her the reality of the horrors of their existence. And there could be a bit more to the prototype's design, specifically the Jester or Jack-in-the-Box portion. Mob hid the Fool card as a teaser for his design and a lot of the art leading up to Chapter 5. In tarot, the Fool can represent new beginnings, naivety, or innocence, but it can also be interpreted as the protagonist of a story, but that's a theory for another video. The last thought I'll leave with you for this video, and the thing I found the most interesting after this tape, is that it seems that Poppy was never introduced to the prototype as having ties to Elliot or herself. Elliot tells Ollie that he thinks the two children would get along, that they could all be a family once she's back. However, at the end of Chapter 4, when the prototype reveals he was Ollie the entire time, Poppy asks, what happened to the real Ollie?
What did you do with Ollie?
I'm right here, Poppy.
For you.
Oh, this man trying to manipulate.
All those years. Was there ever an Ollie?
So she clearly was never introduced to the prototype as Ollie and does not know his real identity prior to his current form, which leads me to believe that Ludwig maybe tossed the prototype aside after Poppy was brought back, which again would lead back into why the prototype is so focused on her. It also makes me curious as to what the relationship was like before Elliot's death and why the prototype never revealed his identity to her. But with all that said, it's time to get into the last piece of quote-unquote undeniable evidence that we've been teased the true identity of the prototype. Now, I am hyping it up a little bit. This could be entirely false. But when you look back to the Wrong Side Audible commercial that we first see upon playing Chapter 5, during one of the static glitches when transitioning over to the more grotesque side of the Wrong Side Audible experimentation with the prototype, we end up getting this overlay, the prototype's face on top of this specific child.
That's what they mean. I really was thinking guts and stuff. That was nasty, and I saw that.
So what do you guys think about that? Who is Chum Chompkins? From what we see, Chum Chompkins is a large furry red toy first teased in the ARG as a friend of Huggy and Kissy. When we meet him, we see he's clearly not a traditional Wuggy like many thought. Instead, he has a big pouch on his belly, which is also his mouth. At first, he seemed to be capturing or even eating us, but he is quickly stopped by Giblet. And I didn't even know they were homies. Did y'all see the fist bump?
I knew it. What the heck is that? Who are you?
Hey, that grabber's good on you.
What? Is it a friend?
This is Chum Chompkins.
Yo, little fist bump.
We, sort of look out for him.
Well, put me down.
Chum,
you look dumb.
This is who everyone's been talking about.
What up, bro?
Poppy's Angel.
Oh, I'm still Poppy's
Playtime
Angel.
Butcher.
The Playtime Butcher, man. PTB,
Come on,
the
I was
wrong
just
one.
filling in Chum on our plan.
From Giblet's introduction, we learn that while Chum appears to be loyal to the prototype, he actually is a friend and helper to Giblet, and thus a friend and helper to us. But who is Chum Chompkins? What kind of toy would he have been, and what was his role in the factory? What is his relationship like with Giblet? Can we trust him? The word chum has two definitions. Chum can mean animal or vegetable matter, such as chopped fish or corn, thrown overboard to attract fish. In fact, chum can even be made of giblets. However, it seems more likely that Playtime Co. was keeping the other definition of chum in mind for this toy specifically, a friend. The depictions of Chum Chompkins show him as a kind, friendly guy you could trust. And as we explore the labs, we see Chum's cardboard cutouts where he's holding his hands in a heart shape. In the ARG, his arms were around Huggy and Kissy in a hug. Playtime obviously wanted everyone to think of him as a friend. As far as the Chompkins part of his name, that must have been what led to him having a mouth as a stomach. It's hard to say how this was used in his toy form. Did he keep your treasure safe and secure? Did he have something you fed him? We may not find answers to those questions, and it may seem like Boxy Boo got a replacement. But what we do know is how Chum Chompkins was used in the factory as a bigger body. Chum is featured in a poster for a calming corner with Pianosaurus. We can see that Playtime Co. was trying to get kids to think of calm when they think of Chum. We also learned from a cassette tape labeled Field Test Chum Chompkins that children were placed inside Chum's stomach. In this tape, we hear Miss Gracie say that Chum is a friend to all kids. It's clear that Megan doesn't even want to talk, let alone interact with Chum. She certainly doesn't want to go in his stomach. Miss Gracie sounds pleasant and helpful, but it's hard to believe that she's doing something good when you hear these obvious objections from the child.
Megan! Hey, Megan. One of the friends told me that you're having trouble with the noise of the world being just too much. I brought someone to help. Go away! Now that's not very nice. You're going to hurt our friend's feelings. Chum's not my friend.
Given that Megan is being referred to by a common name and not a toy name suggests that she's not yet an experiment being conditioned into a toy role. While we see the conditioning tapes Miss Gracie made, there may have been even more to this process. Miss Gracie was the wellness and integration lead counselor. In psychology, integration often refers to uniting the different mind and body systems. A specific type of integration therapy called sensory integration therapy focuses more on helping a person make sense of their experiences and adjusting their response. Usually, this is meant to help the person and give them a sense of control, but this could easily be used against someone, especially children who are more easily influenced. A child who isn't compliant or obedient can be placed in Chum's stomach, an environment that's dark, relatively quiet, and contained. This can be soothing, but it can also be a punishment. Megan immediately says she's better. showing a forced calm. And through all of the objections and convincing, Chum's concerned growl demonstrates his awareness that not everything he and the kids have been told is the truth.
Well, sure he is. Chum's friends to all kids, especially sensitive ones like you. He's here to help make your world just a little softer and quieter. I don't like it! I don't like it in there! I can hear his heart beating. Oh, that's just a recording of a heartbeat, silly. Something to make you feel warm and safe. Like a little baby. Why don't you just come here? I don't want to. Don't! Oh, no. That's not so bad. It's okay. I'm better. I'm better. Of course you are. That's what Chum is for. A little safe space for you. Now you just close your eyes and breathe. Everything's better when you're with a friend.
Because of his role in the conditioning process, it's likely Chum Chompkins lived his whole life near the labs, allowing him to get to know the prototype's ways before the hour of joy. If Chum was beginning to see the wrong being done around his own role, it likely didn't take long for him to see things as they truly are. We don't know exactly when he decided to help the other toys who defy the prototype, but his proximity to the scientific process is an asset in potentially defeating the prototype. This is a strength Giblet seems to believe in as well. Most of what we learn about Chum comes from his interactions with Giblet. Chum and Giblet are clearly good friends. When we first meet Chum, he seems not to trust us and may even be planning to take us to the prototype when Giblet interjects. The two even fist bump, like I said earlier, without Chum breaking eye contact when Giblet introduced him. The trust between the two is clear, but Chum seems reluctant to pass that trust onto us at first. He seems very protective of Giblet. We also see Chum use a drill to open a door.
And he moving quick, bro. What's up with these anime?
And all that science. It's here. Come on.
What the heck did he just do?
This shows off Chum's abilities in the factory. While some of it might be accessed being on the prototype side, he also seems to have the practical skills to get indoors and gain access to things we wouldn't have been able to without him. Chum's character designer, Taylor Landing, shares some early concept art of Chum that gives us an even better view into his handy side. In the initial designs, Chum had a bag of tools and was holding a battery. He also had a mouth and a wrong side out design. Thankfully, they decided not to put Chum in that position. In the second set, Chum is holding a test tube of red liquid, maybe even some of the poppy gel. It's possible Chum may have originally been meant to have more of a role in the scientific process itself. Of course, not everything can be seen as canon, but these are interesting things to keep in mind. There are other small details that show how close Chum and Giblet have become as well. Chum is the first one listed on Giblet's notes of IOUs. Chum had been bringing a lot of food for Giblet, even though the note says Giblet doesn't need charity. Could this imply that along with not being able to speak that he doesn't need to eat? Giblet also seems to be able to understand what we hear as mumbles. It would be hard to talk with a mouth structure like Chum's, and we even see Chum's sign safe in ASL, helping to aid in communication. Giblet's ability to understand Chum may be a clue of how much time they've spent together. The next time we see Chum is when we give the information about where to find the negation formula to Giblet. Giblet doesn't know what it is, but Chum does. Giblet asks Chum to get us into IT so we can access where this negation formula is stored. Chum says no. Is he refusing, or can he actually not access this area? Would it be too obvious to the prototype that Chum was defying him if he did? Could it be that Chum understands that what we would actually be doing is reactivating Dr. Sawyer?
This is it.
What?
This is... Chum, what is this? Negation formula. Sounds spicy. And
how the heck do you understand him?
They got it stored on a backup in IT.
Okay.
We can get there from the tram in reanimation. You can get us in there, right?
No?
No. What are you talking about? No, this is our chance.
Come on, man.
We
You gotta lock in. Try.
Or are you just happy of being the prototype's errand boy now?
Come on, man. Lock in. Oh.
Look, I'm sorry. You help us out and we're even. I mean it.
Whatever the reason, Chum is adamant that we do not follow this path. Naturally, Giblet is upset by this, believing this is an essential piece in defeating the prototype. In his frustration, he implies that perhaps Chum is happier being the prototype's errand boy. Chum points to us, and Giblet apologizes. He says that if Chum helps us out, they'll be even. This is an interesting comment, since Giblet clearly believes he's in Chum's debt based on his IOU list. What kind of give and take relationship have they been a part of all these years? Before it can be decided what route to take, the prototype appears to give Chum a new task. Giblet runs to hide, and with no other clear choice, Chum picks the player up and hides us in his stomach. Bro, I was like, this dude's a kangaroo, what's going on? This allows us to hear the whole set of instructions from the prototype. First, the prototype says he thought he'd find Chum hiding in here, suggesting that Chum is in this location frequently. It could be that this is a spot that Chum and Giblet meet often. The prototype says he needs Chum to repair the security system. Again, it seems that Chum has many skills that can be used to fix things around the factory. Perhaps the security system needs more attention now that Sawyer, isn't there to operate it. I haven't said that in a while. Last, he tasks Chum to be the one to find Poppy, while also reminding him the price for failure before leaving the room. It's interesting how this parallels what the player is about to do. We are going to reactivate the doctor, fixing the security system, since we know Sawyer has been watching us from our entry into the factory until we destroyed his first copy in chapter 4. We also end up finding and freeing Poppy, inadvertently bringing her to the prototype, even though that's actually Lily's doing. The prototype's line, "Nothing is more important to you than this," is especially interesting. It's implied that he's telling Chum that it should be his highest priority. However, the wording almost suggests he knows it's us that's hiding and that our most important goals inevitably involve finding Poppy, whether we like it or not. While the community generally seems to embrace Chum as he's still keeping at least a facade of serving the prototype, Giblet's accusation of an errand boy shows that Chum does still complete tasks for the prototype as well, especially since that's what it seems that he's off to do when he leaves us. Should we trust the evidence of the relationship between himself and Giblet, or should we be suspicious of Chum's continued diligence to the prototype's to-do list? What about his resistance to our entry to IT? How much does Chum really know? We don't know Chum's fate for certain, since we don't see him after he frees us and goes to do the prototype's bidding. Perhaps he was still trying to find Poppy when we were flying down the train tracks. Hopefully he'll be back to lend us a hand and a stomach in chapter 6. Just me? Alright, my bad. What happened to Bron in chapter 5? We first see Bron on a now familiar poster in chapter 1, which recommends a daily intake of 4,000 calories, twice the amount were recommended in real life. This little tidbit alludes to how big Bron was really meant to be. Chapter 1's power room is also where the player comes across a deceased Bron experiment with its head, limbs, and tail seemingly torn from its body. We learn from the restricted restoration tape that this was experiment 1199. Differing from most of the toy experiments we've seen, 1199 wasn't created with an orphan or even a child. Bron started with 59-year-old Thomas Clark. Thomas had been a long-time Playtime co-employee who volunteered to become an experiment due to his terminal lung cancer diagnosis. In this tape, we see Thomas, now a Bron toy, eyes flickering around but unable to respond to the scientists asking him questions. Dr. Jessica Newman, who we see in other restricted videos, makes notes that experiment 1199 experienced an extreme decrease in his mental capabilities and doubts he even knows where he is or what's going on at this point. She even mentions that the other experiments could tell 1199 was different. We see Bron standing in a barren room with his head tilting around until you're shown his
his point of view, experiments surrounding him, watching Bron from the dark. Suddenly, Bron is attacked by the other toys, confirming they knew he wasn't another orphan forced into an experiment. With 11 hours of surgery, Bron survives, but the scientists isolate him from the rest of the toys to avoid another attack. And what's interesting is that this is the first of several instances where we'll see the use of isolation used at Playtime Co. to control the circumstances around that toy. But as we know, the player finds this first Bron's body, showing he was killed by the other experiments after all. Chapter 4 is where we learn about another Bron experiment though, specifically in the secondary lab within Catnap's smoke. Hallucinating from the smoke, the player follows the voices of Stella Graber and an orphan named Timmy to a headless Bron with a tag around his neck indicating Experiment 1393. It seems that this experiment was a failure and that the scientists were attempting to salvage anything they could from the body. We don't have much more information about this Bron, but it does show that not every Bron was made using an adult, such as the first Bron experiment. Ahead of Chapter 5, the restricted salvation tape showed Dr. Newman coming across a torn in half bloodied Bron after the Hour of Joy. This seems to allude to Thomas's experiment, as we previously saw Dr. Newman running it in the restoration tape. That brings us to the Bron that we see in Chapter 5, whose appearance alone brings up even more questions. We're told by Giblets that we can find a replacement grab pack in the boiler room, since Huggy snatched our original grab pack off of our back. I still got friction burns on my armpits. And we won't be able to traverse more of Playtime Co. without one. The only thing is that the grab pack is in the mouth of a massive dinosaur. While making our way through the Wrong Side Audimal's living spaces early in the game, we can hear one of them say, "Put a hole in their neck and bring them to the boilers for Bron." From this, we can assume that other living things down here have already been fed to Bron, bringing up the question, how big is Bron really? And what did the dude do to get a hole in his neck and fed to Bron? As we approach the boiler room, we quickly get an answer to Bron's size. Next to PJ Pugapillar, Chapter 5's Bron is the biggest body we've seen so far, with his body filling up most of the boiler room. Luckily for us, the oversized Bron appears passive and possibly unable to even stand. Unluckily for Bron, we see several Wrong Side Audibles eating from his torn open stomach, similar to how we see Dog Day in Chapter 3, isolated and kept as a food source for the ruined smiling critters. Chained up by his arms, legs already torn off by the loose critters or Catnap, Dog Day claimed he was left in this prison as punishment for going against the prototype during the Hour of Joy. But what if that wasn't the full truth? Seeing the situations that both Dog Day and this Bron were left in raises the question of why some toys were given an eternal or at least dragged out punishment by the prototype after the Hour of Joy, while other toys may have received a quick death for choosing to follow Poppy over the prototype. What makes this giant Bron or someone like Dog Day different? We know through the original Bron experiment tape that the toys created using orphans could tell when another toy was not created using an orphan. This resulted in the toys gathering together to attack the first Bron for previously being a Playtime employee. Similarly, the ruined critters in Chapter 3 also worked together to not only eat Dog Day, but to fill up and take over his remaining body. And again, we see critters, now the Wrong Side Audibles, using the big Bron's isolation and inability to move to feed on and keep themselves alive. We don't seem to see such drastic punishments or treatment in general exhibited towards most of the toys within Playtime. The extreme isolation in toys ganging up on experiments is seen specifically when it comes to the confirmed adult experiments. Without much other information given about Dog Day or Chapter 5's Bron, it's still a possibility that they were both experiments created using adult bodies, specifically of course Playtime employees. Besides the similar punishments in isolation that Dog Day experienced, he says a couple things that bring into question his identity. While explaining why Catnap and the Prototype chose to put Dog Day in this prison and turn him into nothing more than a food source, he refers to Catnap as that thing. I found this odd, as it's well known that Catnap was orphan turned experiment Theodore Granville. Does Dog Day refer to him as that thing mainly due to the torture and pain Catnap has caused him, or is it possible that he was a Playtime Co. employee previously and sees himself as different than Catnap? He goes on to call the ruined critters these little toys, another statement that provokes a sort of separation between himself and the rest of the experiments. While we don't get confirmation of who Dog Day is, he does seem to possibly survive chapter 3 after chasing the player, as we don't outright see him die. So perhaps chapter 6 will give us another Dog Day interaction, or at least some further information about who he was before he was turned into a bigger body. It's hard to ignore the similarities between Dog Day and the other adult experiments. The same goes for Miss Delight, who we also still don't know the original identity of, but her treatment after the Hour of Joy gives evidence of her possibly not having been an orphan as well. Miss Delight's known to have been based off of a human teacher at Playtime Co., but it is never confirmed if that teacher was flat out used as the body to experiment on and actually create the Miss Delights. Catnap and possibly the Prototype decided to lock Miss Delight in the school to protect the orphans from her. Again, we see isolation used as punishments, which causes Miss Delight to go crazy and kill some of her sisters. After this, Catnap frees Miss Delight and makes a deal with her to watch and protect the school area, but the damage was already done. The isolation which caused Miss Delight to murder her sisters continued to eat at her until the player reached the school and she ends up crushed to death. Roll the clip. Lily Lovebraids is another toy we know who's faced extreme isolation at the hands of the Prototype, though this is confirmed to be punishment for her actions as a Playtime employee. Again, this reflects back to the original Bron being attacked by the other toys for not being one of them and isolated by the scientists for his own safety. Lily's case probably has the clearest explanation when questioning why her punishment was so severe. We discover Lily was created using the body of Miss Gracie Green, the Twisted Wellness and Integration lead counselor at Playtime Co., in charge of brainwashing the children that would soon become toys. We hear from a cassette tape in chapter 5 called A Just End that during the Hour of Joy, some of the toys Miss Gracie claimed to be wanting to help dragged her from the safety of her office. This information, combined with the cassette tape 96 Isolation Day 122 and Gracie's skeleton found with holes in its skull in Lily's house, clearly shows that Miss Gracie was forced to undergo the same experimentation and brainwashing process that she and Playtime Co. subjected the orphans to. Like, no, literally, it seems like for the entirety of the 410 days, Miss Gracie was being shown videos of Miss Gracie slowly becoming Lily Lovebraids herself. And once that acceptance is fully there, the Prototype keeps her hidden away in her dollhouse. A note that the player finds confirms that the Prototype had her in continuous isolation for, I'm gonna say it again, 410 days at the time of him writing the note. That is over a full year alone, with the Prototype noting he had no plans of ever letting her join the other toys. Knowing that Lily was isolated by the Prototype as punishment for her role at Playtime leads me to wonder if the Prototype used isolation as punishment for Dog Day for a similar reason. In hand with that, is it possible that chapter 5's Bron is being punished so severely with this boiler room isolation and endless feeding frenzy because he was also a Playtime Co. employee? Back in the boiler room, one of the Automals says, "When Bron eats, we all eat," insinuating that when Bron is fed, his stomach regenerates, creating an endless food source for the experiments here. Additionally, you can see what appears to be poppy gel on the side of Bron's mouth, and with everything we learn about the poppy gel later in the game, it's safe to say that the gel is the main reason he's regenerating like this. It's unclear how long this bigger body Bron has been here, but it certainly appears that someone, likely the prototype, is feeding Bron the poppy gel, or in hand with that, throwing out his failed experiments and using Bron similarly to how the scientists would use Boxy Boo to dispose of their failed experiments or bad toys. There are large metal shackles seen around Bron's neck and tail, once again mirroring Dog Day's imprisonment. At first glance, it would appear these shackles are keeping him trapped here, though neither appears to actually be attached to anything holding him down. This leads me to theorize the shackles weren't necessarily there to keep Bron held down, but rather for transporting or moving him. We've previously seen other bigger bodies being sedated, shackled, and transported around Playtime Co. similarly. This brings me to my last theory, which involves a file that you can find in Chapter 4. The file is called Weekly Checkup 1424. Some traits that stuck out to me about this experiment were its lack of speech, disconnect from its surrounding, loss of muscle coordination, and rigidity of its body. I said that wrong, rigidity. But most importantly, subject will eat food if food is placed directly in the mouth. Maybe it's just me, but this sounds a whole lot like Boiler Room Bron. He doesn't speak, but follows the player's movements with his head. He seemingly can't stand up and is being fed by someone. And based on all of this, it seems at least somewhat likely that Experiment 1424 is the Bron we see in Chapter 5. It seems that the prototype has used isolation time and time again as punishment for the toys he felt either did the most damage to the orphans at playtime or refused to help him with the Hour of Joy. Often, it seems these two reasons overlap and give evidence of unconfirmed bigger body identities, possibly having been Playtime Co. employees, including the big Bron we see in Chapter 5. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.